How many days has it been since their last tricks? Welcome to Wasteman Corner Crash Course, and today we're going to be talking about the Jews. Now, on a serious note, I usually say that if you remove the Jews from the pack, you remove 90% of the average IQ, which is actually, pretty accurate if you go there and check it out. Jews are some of the only people you can actually have a relatively intellectual conversation with. At least religious people, from my perspective. The problem is, there's a big variety. I mean, it can be a problem, but it can also be something good. There's a huge variety of different kinds of Jews. Now, Christians, you know very well that Christians and Muslims, I divided them into mainly three groups of people. Two main groups, and one of the groups into two secondary groups. Now, Jews, it's a bit more difficult to define them. So I'm going to define them mainly into two categories, even though there's Ashkenazis and all kinds of different Jews. But I'm going to divide them into two different categories, which you probably already noticed in the name of this video. Because those are the two most contradictory ones, the ones that honestly oppose each other. I mean, one of them opposes the other. The one that's being opposed doesn't really care, but you'll find out what I mean by that soon enough. From one side we have the Jews, with all the different kinds of Jews. Like again, I said, for one of them is Ashkenazis, which is the one we'll be mentioning mainly, because they're the ones that live in the UK most of the time. And the other one is Hebrew Israelites, yes. Hebrew Israelites are a very interesting case to discuss, and I've actually been asked to do a video about them. So yeah, apparently many people want to hear more about these Hebrew Israelites. But let's start with the Jews, with the actual Jews. I mean, with the actual Jews. It depends what you see as an actual Jew. Let's start by talking about the Ashkenazis that I've met on the park. You can't always tell a Jew apart from another person, because they don't always wear specific clothes. Sometimes they wear the yarmulke, which, as you probably know, is the little hat, over here on their heads. But usually it's not even that noticeable. Sometimes you can talk to Jews. Sometimes you will find a Jew in the middle of a bunch of people having a discussion, usually about Judaism, because that's where they're usually being pushed. For a discussion. Now, the good thing is, you can have a relatively good conversation with them, because they are usually, at least from the ones I've met, pretty intelligent people. The not so good thing is that some of them get very butthurt very easily because of very small criticism to Israel or to Jews overall or stuff like that. And not all of them, of course. A few of the Jews, they will see anti-Semitism where there is none. Where there is just criticism. And I know this might be an unpopular opinion to have nowadays, but Jews are not saints. Jews do bad stuff too. Jews deceive people. Jews also can be very bad people. They can be very good people. It all depends how they use their IQ, their intelligence. Which I'm actually not lying about. The average IQ for an Ashkenazi Jew is pretty high. You can look it up yourself. So that's a compliment, by the way, not an insult. So be proud of yourself, my Jewish brothers. But yeah, they're relatively easy to talk to if you're not criticizing directly Israel or something. And if you are, and if the other person, if the Jewish guy starts getting defensive, it's usually enough to just appeal to reason and say, no, bro, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not trying to attack Jews, but I have the right to criticize Jews too. And usually it's enough to, bring the conversation back to a reasonable standpoint. So that's most of the things I have to say about the common Jews, the Ashkenazis here in the UK. At least in Speaker's Corner. That's where I met most of the Jews that I've met here in the UK, honestly. Now, Black Hebrews are a completely different kind of person. Yeah. I'm sure you've heard of Black Hebrew attacks, of the Hebrew Israelite attacks against the Ashkenazis. And yeah, I can see where that is coming from. I've had conversation with many Hebrew Israelites, and they don't really see, at least that's what they tell me, they don't really see other people as people, honestly. I've seen one specific Hebrew Israelite saying that I am white and thus I'm not a man. And then there was an Arab guy, he said, he's not as white as I am, so he's a little bit more of a man. And the black man that's not a Hebrew Israelite is a man, but it's a lesser man than he is. So there's a big complex of superiority going on in many Hebrew Israelites. I don't know, those are the ones that have been in Speaker's Corner. Those are the ones that I've been exposed to. And those are the ones who come to Speaker's Corner the most. And again, this is Wasteland Corner Crash Course. So I'm talking about the ones who come to Speaker's Corner. Before anybody starts saying, oh, they're not all like that, you're being racist. Well, it's specified on the video that I'm talking about the people from Speaker's Corner. So that, casual people who come there can be prepared and can know what they can expect. There are a few Hebrew Israelites who do the Christian kind of preaching, the crazy Christian kind of preaching, which means they walk around, but they go one step further. Not only do they shout that they're right and all that stuff, but they also will call everybody else evil creatures. They will, some of them will call whites devils, which is something that we'll come to later when we talk about a certain other group of people, yes. Now, there are some right-wingers in Speaker's Corner, and some of them have a pretty dim view of Jews, if you know what I mean. One could say they want to implement a solution to the Jewish question. One could even call it the last solution. What were you expecting? Now, people like those don't usually have good arguments to defend their hatred. They usually just try to make a boogeyman, a straw man, to hate of all their problems. Ooh, nothing is going well in my country. It's those Jews. They did it. The Hebrew Israelites are no exception, honestly. Sometimes I even think there's some kind of a subversion movement in the Jewish community to mess them up real good, because they don't really bring anything new to the table. I haven't had one good conversation with a Hebrew Israelite from Speaker's Corner. Not one. Always, every single time, they bring this, with lack of a better word, stupid ideology of simply blaming everything on the white Ashkenazi Jews, and if not on the Jews, on the whites, if not on the whites, on the Arabs, if not on the Arabs, on the other blacks, because obviously they're also inferior to them. Everybody's inferior to them, according to them. And that's what they do. That's what their ideology is based on in Speaker's Corner. And they sometimes get really worked up because of it, really angry, like they really believe in that stuff. I've even seen a video of a Hebrew Israelite spitting on Ashkenazi Jew, which, we've seen other occasions of that. For example, when IC3 was spat by some guy who came to Speaker's Corner. I didn't like what he was saying. So it happens sometimes, but just goes to show you the hatred that goes from Hebrew Israelites to Ashkenazis themselves. So yeah, as for Ashkenazis, you can talk to them, perfectly fine, but be ready to bring them back to the conversation if they start getting too defensive. If they start getting, blaming you of anti-Semitism, whatever, you need to be ready to bring the conversation back from there to an actual level where you can talk to them. Now, Hebrew Israelites, I don't know, man, I really wouldn't advise anyone to try to talk to them, because it seems to me like many of them are a lost cause. They're completely sure that they are in the right, and anybody who disagrees with them, even if they have good arguments, they're just wrong. They're inferior. I mean, a person who sees every other person around them as inferior Untermensch is not somebody you can really have a reasonable conversation with, because they're not going to listen to you, even if you are right, even if you, expose them on every single fallacy they make. It doesn't matter, because they don't see you as human. They see you as something under a human, a beast, an animal, a slave, or something like that. Which is a funny opinion to have, seeing that Hebrew Israelites don't have that much power in the world, but, who am I to judge? So that's my interpretation on Jews, on Hebrew Israelites. And if you disagree, you can always blame me of hate speech. See you next time.